Good morning, fifth grader. Today's packet is for Thursday, April 30th. Mathematics, Learning Target Notes and Practice. Learning Target, Unit 9, Volume Review. Determine the number of cubic units in each rectangular prism and provide an expression to show your mathematical thinking. Your expression should use either length times width times height or base times height to show your understanding of volume. Expression, volume. Number 3, expression, volume. Number 2, expression, volume. And number 4, the expression and the volume. Real world practice. Show your understanding of volume in the real world by creating an expression and finding the volume to answer the question. If water tank is 4 feet wide, 10 feet long, and 5 feet tall, what is the volume in cubic feet of the water tank? Determine the number of cubic units in each rectangular prism and provide an expression to show your mathematical thinking. Your expression should use either length times width times height or base times height to show your understanding of volume. Number 6, you have 4, 3, and 2. Number 7, 8, 5, 4. Number 8, 8, 3, and 6. Number 9, 8, 9, and 4. Real world practice. Show your understanding of volume in the real world by creating an expression and finding the volume to answer the question. Number 10. At an art show for her school, Taylor is preparing to display her artwork in display boxes. Each display box must have a volume of 60 cubic inches. She wants to make 2 display boxes, but wants them to be different. Show 2 different ways Taylor can make these display boxes by determining the length, width, and height of each box. Remember, each box must be different and have a volume of 60 cubic inches. Reading, practice notes and activity, learning target. I can explain how an author uses reasons and evidence to support particular points in a text. I can identify which reasons and evidence support particular points in a text. Lesson 19, Understanding Supporting Evidence. Learning target. Understanding the reasons and evidence an author uses to support points will help you better understand a text. Read. When reading informational text, look for the points the author presents to convince you an idea is true. To figure out whether an author's points are supported, look for any reasons and evidence he or she supplies for each point. A reason is an explanation for why the idea might be true. A piece of evidence is a fact that can be proven true. In the comic strip below, identify the reasons and evidence the girl gives for needing a secret code. Hey, want to go outside? Can't. I'm developing a code for secret messages. Why do you need that? It's my brother. He keeps reading my diary. He does? What's your evidence? Well, my diary keeps moving around my room. I keep finding it open. And he keeps telling me to write more neatly. Only if it's not a problem. What have you learned about points, reason, and evidence? Reasons and evidence the girl gives for needing a secret code. What does the girl think? She needs a code. Why does she think this? Her brother keeps reading her diary. What evidence supports her thinking? Diary keeps moving around the room. She keeps finding it open. He keeps telling her to write more neatly. Practice. Read the passage below, Westward Expansion and Oregon Trail, and answer the 2 multiple choice questions. Westward Expansion, the Louisiana Purchase. In 1803, Thomas Jefferson bought a huge portion of land west of the Mississippi. He bought this land from France. The new territory was called the Louisiana Purchase. It more than doubled the size of the United States. The Louisiana Purchase cost $15 million total. That amounts to be about 4 cents an acre. The land included 828,000 square miles of new land. Now, Americans would be responsible for exploring and settling much of this huge continent. The age of westward expansion was about to start. Manifest destiny. By the 1840s, Americans envisioned a nation that spread from sea to shining sea. They felt that it was their duty to spread out across the land. The belief in democracy was so strong that Americans wanted to spread it across the entire continent. To them, exploring and cultivating new territory was the destiny of the young country and its citizens. Soon the phrase, manifest destiny, was echoing in newspapers and political speeches. Many American adventurers would go west to seek their fortunes. The Oregon Trail. Go west, young man. Have you ever wondered how everyone spread out across this country from the original 13 colonies? During the period of westward expansion, many settlers traveled across the same 2,000-mile trail to the west. The Oregon Trail stretched from Missouri to Oregon. The journey took 4 to 6 months. Covered wagons were loaded with food and supplies. There was little room for more than 1 or 2 people to ride, so most of the pioneers had to walk the whole way, sometimes without shoes. Can you imagine walking all the way across the United States and barefoot? The trip was very challenging. Crossing rivers was extremely dangerous. Often parts of the wagon would break. Some people died from sickness or fatigue or even bad weather. A disease called cholera was an especially big problem. In the days of the Oregon Trail, cholera had no cure. Once someone showed the slightest symptoms of illness, he or she could die within a few hours. After a while, the grass alongside the trail started to disappear. Too many horses and cows had been grazing in the same spot from all of the traffic. The later pioneers had trouble finding food for their livestock. The covered wagons traveled in a long train or caravan for safety. At night, the settlers would gather their caravan into a big circle. In the middle of the circle, they would build a campfire, eat, and sleep. In the third sentence of the second paragraph in the Oregon Trail, the author makes the point that travel could be very dangerous because of failing transportation. What is another reason the author uses to support the idea that traveling could be dangerous? Mark only one oval. There was little room for more than 1 or 2 people to ride. It is most of the pioneers has to walk the whole way. Some people died from sickness or fatigue or even bad weather, or the grass alongside the trail started to disappear. What reasons support that the Oregon Trail had a negative impact on the environment? Mark only one oval. Some people died from sickness or fatigue or even bad weather. After a while, the grass alongside the trail started to disappear. Pioneers had trouble finding food for their livestock. Many American adventurers would go west to seek their fortunes. Or, during the period of westward expansion, many settlers traveled across the same 2,000-mile trail to the west. Reading exit slip. Preamble of the Constitution. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. The words written in italics above are the preamble to the Constitution of the United States. The Constitution is the document that defines our American democracy. It sets forth the nation's laws. It also spells out the rights and liberties of the American people. The preamble, or introduction, explains why people wrote the Constitution. The first 3 words are, "We the people." At the time, these words were revolutionary. Before the United States was established, the 13 colonies were part of England. The ruler was the King of England. The colonists had no say over what happened to them. When Americans established their own government, they wanted the people to have a say. They wanted government to protect the people's rights. They wanted the Constitution to create a democracy. In a democracy, the people elect or vote for the people they want to run their government. The government's power comes from the people. The government cannot exist without the consent of the majority of its people. If the government fails to protect the people, then the people can use their voting power to elect new people to run the government. What should the government do for the people? The preamble answers part of this question. It says that the government should provide justice or fairness. It should ensure tranquility or peace by working to solve problems within the country when they arise. The government should also defend the country when necessary. It should care for the general well-being of the people. Finally, it should provide liberty for all. The Constitution, with its many democratic goals and methods to reach them, has stood the test of time. It was written in 1787. More than 200 years later, this document still works for the people of the United States. Question 1. What is the most basic purpose of the Constitution? Mark only one oval. To declare independence from England, to establish a monarchy, to set forth the nation's laws, or to declare war on other countries. Question 2. The author describes how the American colonies were ruled by England in order to explain why the American colonists wanted a government just like England's, provide background information about how Americans used to be governed, illustrate why American colonies wanted to take over England, or show how England helped the Americans in writing their own constitution. Number 3. Which of these statements best explains how citizens have the power to make sure the principles of the Constitution are followed? Citizens can elect new people to the government if the people running the government do not uphold the Constitution. Citizens create a new constitution every few years to make sure that government reflects their values. The government cannot take any actions unless the citizens specifically give their consent. Or the Constitution forbids the government from having any power so that only the citizens have any power. After reading Preamble of the Constitution, what evidence supports the main idea that the makers of the Constitution wanted the people to have a say in the newly formed government? The government should care for the general well-being of the people. The government cannot exist without the consent of the majority of its people. The Constitution is the document that defines our American democracy. Or the government should also defend the country when necessary. Writing, lesson overview, learning target. I can write an opinion piece on a topic, supporting my point of view with reasons and evidence. Weekly learning plan. This week we'll focus on opinion writing. This is your opportunity to practice the power of using your thoughts to effectively communicate your opinion. In order to allow you to work on the different elements of a complete writing piece, each day has its own focus. By Thursday, you will have a completed opinion piece and be ready to try one in one sitting on Friday. This week you will Monday, read the prompt and create a plan using a graphic organizer, Foursquare. This is your chance to brainstorm ideas and design the flow of your piece. On Tuesday, write the introduction. Be sure to grab your reader's attention with a great hook and state the purpose of your writing piece. Wednesday, Thursday, write the body of your piece. Using strong supporting details such as examples, explanations, and experiences, make your plan come alive in your piece. And on Friday, write your conclusion. This is your chance to bring all of your thoughts to an end and leave the reader thinking. Writing the prompt. Learning target. I can write an opinion piece on a topic, supporting my point of view with reasons and evidence. Using the opinion prompt and your Foursquare organizer that you use to analyze your prompt, finish writing your body to support your opinion, 1 to 2 paragraphs. For your writing piece, make sure to tie your details together in this paragraph. Writing situation. At lunch each day, students are made to sit at a table with only children from their homeroom. Many children want to be able to sit at other tables with friends. Writing directions. Write an email to the principal presenting your opinion on whether or not children should be allowed to sit with friends at different tables in the cafeteria. Use facts and details to support your opinion. Social Studies, Lesson Notes and Practice. New modes of transportation and communication in the 1800s. The national road, steamboat, a telegraph, Erie Canal, steam locomotive, Pony Express, and the Transcontinental Railroad. National Road. Settlers heading west needed better ways to travel. Because the West was largely wilderness, rivers, and swamps, settlers had a hard time getting their wagons and horses across the land. In 1811, the U.S. government began building the National Road. Over time, the dirt road stretched from Cumberland, Maryland to Vandalia, Illinois. The road allowed for settlers to travel further west more easily, as well as allowed people to transport animals such as sheep, cattle, and pigs back to the eastern markets to sell. The road was completed in 1837 and spanned over 600 miles. Although the road helped to connect the east to the west, traveling the road, however, was rough. When it rained, the dirt road would turn to mud, and wagon wheels would get stuck. Although it wasn't a perfect solution for travel, it was a step in the right direction. The steam engine boat. Early settlers would travel west, mostly by land, to transport goods back and forth. This mode of transportation took a long time. Robert Fulton, an American engineer, set out to find a faster way to travel. In 1807, he developed a riverboat that used steam to power its way through the water. Before this, boats relied on the wind to push their sails in order to move in the water. Sailboats also had a hard time traveling against the water's current. A steam engine boat could travel much faster and push more easily through the water's current. In August of 1807, Fulton impressed crowds of people when he set off from New York City in his steam engine boat, the Clermont. The boat traveled to 150 miles upstream the Hudson River to Albany, New York. Not only could it travel upstream, but it also took much less time. The Clermont arrived in Albany in just 32 hours. It took 4 days to travel the same trip by sailboat. Steam engine boats, however, presented a challenge. The power of the boat relied on the pressure created by the steam to move the wheels in the water. If too much pressure was created in the steam, explosions could occur, injuring or even killing passengers. Still, the success of the steam engine boat was celebrated. Now transporting people and goods was much cheaper and faster than land travel. Steam locomotive. In a time when many people traveled on land by horse and wagon, there was a need for faster travel. Early railroads began simply as wood and iron rails laid on the ground. Carts were pulled by horses running along the rails. Since the rails were smooth, horses could pull the carts faster than they could pull the wagons over dirt roads. Then a director of the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad Company named Peter Cooper came up with an idea. He thought that if he could develop a steam-powered cart, it would be able to carry heavier loads and travel faster than a cart pulled by horses. In 1830, he built a steam-powered locomotive, or engine, that would power a railroad cart. To show off his new machine, he hosted a race between his locomotive and a horse to prove his machine could win. At first, the locomotive looked as though it would win, but then a part of the engine broke, and it was unable to beat the horse. Although the steam locomotive lost, this new way of travel soon took over from the horses and became the cheapest and faster way of travel. The National Road was completed in 1837. The National Road was built to make travel on land easier. Workers cleared over 600 miles of land from Maryland to Illinois, making it easier to travel with horses and wagons. The steamboat in 1807. The steam engine boat used steam to move a boat quickly through water. It even allowed travelers to travel against the current and cut down on travel time. The steam locomotive, 1830. The steam locomotive was a train cart powered by steam. It could pull heavier loads at a much faster pace than carts being pulled by horses. The Pony Express in 1860. The Pony Express was a 2,000-mile horse relay race that delivered mail from east to west at a much quicker rate. Horse riders would travel about 75 miles nonstop and then pass off the mail to the next rider. Linking the East to the West. New modes of transportation and communication in the 1800s. Learning target. I can explain how westward expansion increased the need for better transportation and communication. I can describe new modes of transportation and communication that developed in the 1800s. The National Road. Travel problem before, solution provided after, other facts. Steamboat. Travel problem before, solution provided after, and other facts. The steam locomotive. Travel problem before, solution provided after, and other facts. Social Studies Learning Target Assessment. Question 1. This mode of transportation was built to make travel on land easier. Workers cleared land from Maryland to Illinois to make travel easier. A. Was this the National Road? B. The Pony Express? C. The steam engine? Or D. The steam locomotive? Question 2. This mode of transportation could pull heavier loads at a much faster pace than carts being pulled by horses. A. The National Road? B. The Pony Express? C. The steam engine? Or D. The steam locomotive? Question 3. This mode of transportation allowed travelers to travel against the current and cut down on travel time. A. The National Road? B. The Pony Express? C. The steam engine? Or D. The steam locomotive? Question 4. What was one problem with the National Road? A. It wasn't long enough. B. It was too long. C. It was made for boats and not wagons. Or D. When it rained, it would turn muddy and wagons would get stuck. Physical Education Daily Lesson Flash Warm-Up. Jog in place 15 seconds. Sprint in place 15 seconds. Jog in place 15 seconds. Push-up position 30 seconds. Sprint in place 15 seconds. Jog in place 30 seconds. Sprint in place 15 seconds. Whoa, that was fast. Can you do it again? And that is the end of this April 30th NTI Day.